welcome to Founders District TV. You are Mun Ng?
That's right.
Ng? How do you
Yeah.
pronounce your last name?
Ng?
Ng.
Yeah.
Yeah, winner of the 2013 International Speech Contest at the district. I'm going to talk a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are today.
Okay.
And since your speech involved your father and some of your family members, I'm also going to ask you about them, okay?
Absolutely.
Let's start with yourself. What club are you from?
I am from Possibilities Unlimited.
And where's that?
It's in Mission Viejo, Club 7368-F, Founders District. Phenomenal people. We meet at Caro's and we have a great time.
All right. And when did you join this club?
About 2.5 years ago.
This is your first club that you joined?
Yes, yes. I knew from the moment I walked into the club, they were so welcoming and inviting, I just knew I had to join.
Yes. And why did you join? What made you visit the club and join?
A couple of months prior, in the wintertime, my company had a retreat. It was up in Big Bear Mountain, and we're all supposed to present. I didn't have to do anything. My manager was supposed to stand up there with the entire team. I was going to be in the background, and he was going to do the presenting. And all of a sudden, he turns to me and is like, "Mun, why don't you talk about this product?" I'm like, "What?"
Okay.
So I stepped up. I said 2 sentences, and that's all I could muster. And my heart was racing so fast. It took about 2 hours for my heart rate to come down. And I just shrank back with all my other coworkers. I was like, man, I got to take care of this. And that's when I made a New Year's resolution that coming January, I would join Toastmasters.
All right. And what company was that?
Oakley.
Oakley.
Yeah.
And Oakley is in
It's in Foothill Ranch.
Foothill Ranch?
Yes.
That's right. All right. So you joined this club 2.5 years ago, and I spoke to some of the other members in the club who remember your icebreaker speech, and they were just amazed that a first-time Toastmaster could do so well. Why do you think they said that?
When I initially wrote the icebreaker, I saw that it was going to be 4 to 5 minutes, and you could read from the notes. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be easy. It was like, but Mun, you've got to get good at this fast, because you're going to have to present your products in front of your manager and everything, and you're going to have to talk a lot. So why don't you just try to memorize it a little bit? And so that's what I did. And it took me 2 weeks of practicing it like every day, nonstop, and that was how I started.
Well, they say that you're a perfectionist. It took every speech, you took a long time to perfect that speech before you gave it. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If it's not ready, then I don't want to present it, because I feel, this is just me personally, I'm taking up valuable time from my club members to hear me speak. And I want to give them something worthwhile, something that I feel is good enough to show them to, like, here's 7 minutes that I want to share with you, and I hope you think it's worth it. That's why I like to perfect everything before I present it.
Okay. Now the requirements for the competing at the contest was to have done 6 speeches.
Yeah.
How close were you to meeting that goal by the time you were ready?
So, knowing that I take a long time to write my speeches, 3 months before the contest, Gail Larkin, she comes up to me and says, "Mun, the contest is coming up. Why don't you just try?" And I love her for that, because she's just nudging me, and she just wants me to do better. And she knows that I like to perfect my speeches, so I have 2 more speeches to write. And I spend as much time as possible to perfect each one and memorize them and stage them before I presented to the club. And so I did the last 2 in 3 months. And then I started practicing for the contest after that.
Right.
If it wasn't for her nudging me, I wouldn't have done it. I would have taken another 8 months to write the 2 speeches. She's wonderful.
Now, while you were competing and you won at the club, you won at the area, you won at the division, along that way, were people telling you, this speech is it, this is a contest-winning speech? Did you know that you were going to win?
I felt that the speech touched a lot of people, and I didn't think I was gonna win because I knew the competition. One of my good friends, Louise, she's incredible, and I had to go up against her, and I remember her when she joined our club, and I was like, whoa, she's amazing. And when I found out I had to go up against her, I'm like, oh well, it's good enough. Winning area is great. So, in the back of my mind, I always knew that there were other great speakers, and I didn't know how far I'd get, because I know there will be a point at district where you will see the best of the best in the air. And it was just up in the air for me.
Wow. So, what is the one thing that you think was the most helpful to you in preparing for winning this competition?
Oh, the best is when getting the advice of the other people in my club. Definitely Richard Dougherty and Bob Dahl and all the other senior members I really look up to. And as I gave my speech and they went through it line by line with me, why did you do that? I think this could be done differently, tone it down here. And their advice really helped. So without them, this speech would totally sound very different and probably wouldn't have gotten as far. So it was great.
So it helps to have good, supportive club members.
Yes, absolutely. And I have that, and I'm so lucky.
If it wasn't for that, would you have even competed?
Probably not. That would just take a long time.
All right. Well, let's talk about your speech now. Nobody died in the speech, so I think that was a good thing. A lot of people said, oh, finally, a speech where nobody died. You talk about your father and the relationship with your father, something that I think a lot of people can connect with, right? Who doesn't want to win the affection of their father, especially coming from a Chinese background? Can you talk about, I'm assuming a lot of the information in your speech is true?
Yes.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship between you and your father growing up?
Absolutely. I grew up in an immigrant family. We came to the U.S. in '79, and the only types of work available at that time were, you either work in a factory or you're work in a restaurant and stuff like that. So times are really tough, and the education level of my parents up to high school. That's about it. So they're in this new world, and the only way they know how to get by is to work really hard. And the only good things that they know about, like good jobs, it's either like doctors or lawyers or sometimes even accountants, but because we're really good at math and stuff. And so that's all they ever tried to hammer into me. And it was very limiting choices. And I don't blame them, because that's all they knew. Growing up, so of course parents always set a course for their kids, and the kids will try to follow it as best as they can until they veer off and follow their heart. Yeah.
So what was it about your passion that kept you following your own direction?
When I was applying for colleges, I distinctly remember I didn't apply to just any art schools. It was either these super serious schools, but I was secretly looking to see if they had really good art programs inside business schools. So I would, take a lot of elective courses or something like that. And it just didn't work out that way. Luckily for me, because I got into the business schools and all the other schools. But my brother is like, I'm not going to drive you there. It's too far. I was like, oh, that's great. And the turning point was at that one day, the art school actually called me and asked me to apply. And I just knew from that point on. I'm really big into fate, and things happen for a reason. And that was just a clear sign that I had to go that route.
And at what point did your father find out that you were in art school?
Graduation.
Oh.
So I bring him to graduation, and I show him what I've been studying. And he didn't really understand what product design or industrial design or any of this was. And he always figured, well, he never went to college, so he didn't really understand what college was about, or he always figured you can always just go to medical school later, or something later, or graduate school or something. And so he just thought college was just some place you spend for 4 years. So after I showed him around, he was like, "What is this place? I don't understand." So that's what.
But he eventually did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, has your father seen this or heard the speech or seen it, or did you tell him about it?
I told him about it. He doesn't speak English very well, or he doesn't understand it. And I haven't shown anybody in my family yet. I've told them about it. When I review my own videotapes, I cringe. It's just something I can't. So I don't know if, subjecting my family to it, if they'd be like, ugh, so personal. Asian people like to hide their feelings a lot.
Uh-huh.
So eventually I'll show them, I think.
Your friends have seen it. No?
No. Only 2 of my coworkers have seen me perform. And the same thing. I cringe when I watch my own videos. I know, it's just me. I'm like, ooh.
So who's going to go with you to Cincinnati when you compete?
I told my family that I'm going to be competing in August. And they're like, when? Oh, 21st and 25th. Like, oh, we're going to go on a cruise at that time. We've already bought the tickets. I'm like, oh, that's great. So I will be alone, but my club president will be there to support me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully your family will then see you once you win.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot of brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talk about them in your speech, just by name though, you don't really go into details. What kind of a family are you? How close are you to your brothers and sisters?
I love them all dearly. I call my brothers like once a week.
You know they might see this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Someday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gotta be nice.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, the typical Asian family is, are you close to your brothers and sisters?
Yes.
And still keep in contact with them?
Yes, I think as you get older, you have more in common. There's a huge age difference between me and my oldest brother and all the rest of my siblings. And when you're young, there's nothing in common. You like Power Rangers and they're already, in college. But as you get older, there's much more in common, and we talk about the same things now, same things. Like, oh, my hip hurts, or, things like that.
Now, did they know you were going to art school, and were they supportive of you?
They knew, and they were supportive to the extent where they're like, yeah, just do what you want to do. Our parents are our parents. They'll always tell you to do something else, but just do what they understood, because they grew up in America with me. They understood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have children yet, do you?
No.
But you plan to someday?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what are you going to say when your kid tells you he wants to be a doctor?
You can do whatever you want. Just follow your heart.
Follow your heart?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. That's probably the best advice a father can give his son.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting prepared now for the big competition in Cincinnati, and I understand that your next speech you're working on is pretty tough. Can you describe how tough that is?
I have started and stopped more than several speeches based on just, because I'm trying to live up to the last speech, and it is so difficult. I'm trying to think of where my last speech came from and why it did what it did, and I don't even understand it. And as I watch the tapes of all the past champions and everything, and they do it, and I'm trying to say, how did they do it? And maybe I'm overanalyzing it, and maybe I should just let it flow, but it is difficult to try to recapture that magic or that formula. So I'm having a tough time.
Do you have any speaker coach that is helping you out?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought everyone just watched YouTube and, practiced at home and, move their furniture around so they could walk around their living room a little bit. That's what I thought everyone did. And I thought everyone just went and asked their club members for help. I had no idea they were speech coaches.
Wow. So this might be a tough question then. If you could have any coach in the world, who would you want? Who would you choose to help you do this speech?
Oh, there are so many speakers that I admire so much. After watching the tapes, I really enjoy Craig Valentine and his personable aura. Darren's fantastic. I saw him speak at the Jaeger House, and I was like, wow, this guy's amazing. Ed Tate's very personable as well. He is a great storyteller. And going back all the way back to 1996, I watched the competition with Barnhill. I think Jana Barnhill. She delivered one of the most incredible speeches I've ever heard, called Buried Treasures. That was fantastic. I was amazed. The content was so rich. And also, of course, finally I got to see his winning speech. I've been wanting to see it for a long time. David Henderson and the Aviators. The only speech to make me cry out of that entire collection. Amazing. Amazing. Put those all guys in a room together and just tell me what to do. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get you a speaker coach soon. You're gonna want one, right?
I guess if I can finish writing my speech, and then I'll let them. Yeah.
All right. All right. So, are you ready?
I guess. Yes.
You will be, right?
Yes, I will be. Contest time, I will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting with me. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And this is for Founders District TV. And we'll see you at the competition.
See you there.
All right.